Okay, let's also say prayers actually very quick. I'll open them. Those who know it, please recite. Okay, let's get started actually. Om Gyan Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya
Manobishtam
Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sadhvetam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha
Krishna Padan
Krishna
Sajana
Shri
Lalita
Krishna
Shri
Kandatamscha
He Krishna Krishna Sindhu
Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishbhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnaveभ्यो Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Namaste Saraswati Devi
Gauravani Pracharini Shunnyavadi Chatade Karane
Mukam Karoti Vachalam Vipadam
Aham Vande Shri Guru Taranam
Nirviकार Chandraya Radhikaya Kadaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Hare Krishna Hare
Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare
Hare Hare.
Hare Bol. So we'll start chapter 18. Try to finish first few verses. So this chapter is called Conclusion, the Perfection of Renunciation. Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters, and we are on the last chapter, chapter 18. But you can read Bhagavad Gita from anywhere, and it tastes as sweet as ever. So you don't, if we are getting to read from 18 chapter, then we'll still get the full nourishment, full realizations, and spiritual advancement. So, and this is the conclusion. So actually you will be getting a summary, the summary study of Bhagavad Gita in this chapter. Krishna is going to give an overview of everything that he told Arjun. And so actually this is a nice, this may be last chapter, but this is a nice chapter to start with. And this is in Hindi, this chapter is called Moksha Sannyas Yog. Some also translate it as Upsamhar Sannyas Ki Siddhi. But we call it Moksha Sannyas Yog, ya fir conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. So this is probably the longest chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Then one other that was really long was chapter 2. That was also a summary study. So 2 and 18 are like summary studies. If you don't have any time to read Bhagavad Gita and you can at least read chapter 2 and 18, then you would get a very good idea, overview of what Bhagavad Gita entails. So Bhagavad Gita is compared to like जैसे मिठाई का डब्बा होता है, like a box of या फिर डायमंड बॉक्स, उसकी एक लिड है, उसका एक बॉक्स है और उसके बीच में मिठाई है या बीच में डायमंड है, ठीक है. तो जो टॉप है, everybody understands Hindi, right? Is that okay to switch back and forth? We'll just keep the language conversational and not very okay. So just like the top lid and the bottom box, right? They contain the most valuable things in between. जैसे कि बर्फी is in between, या फिर जैसे कि सैंडविच होता है, सैंडविच में ब्रेड होती है ऊपर and नीचे, and in between is the peanut butter jelly, or in between is the cheese spread, या फिर आलू बीच में रहता है, right? So the main material, the main content is in between. ऐसे ही भगवद गीता में भी the first 18 chapters can be divided into 3. The first 6 chapters are like the top lid. The last 6 chapters are like the bottom box, And the between 6 chapters, the middle 6 chapters are like the cream of the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. It's like the aloo of the sandwich, the diamond of the diamond box. So that's where the whole bhakti lies. That is what will give you the love of Godhead, the bhakti yoga. So the top lid, the first 6 chapters, and they deal with the mostly the karma yoga part of Bhagavad Gita. The last 6 chapters deal with the Gyan Yoga part of Bhagavad Gita, and the middle 6 chapters deal with the bhakti or the love of Godhead. And since the goal of human life is to develop love of Godhead in this life, re-invoke that डोमेंट लव ऑफ गॉड हेड, क्योंकि हम सबके अंदर भगवान के लिए प्रेम है, लेकिन वो कवर हो गया है by all the contaminations of this material world. It's covered by all our material desires and so many activities that we engage in, so many wasteful activities that we engage in. We are engaging with this material world so much that this material world has covered us, enveloped us. So the original goal of this human life has become blanketed by all these other things. So we have to uncover that dormant love of Krishna within us and go back to him, go back to Godhead. That is the only way really one can go back home, back to Godhead. The other ways that are mentioned, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, they're all part and parcels of Bhakti Yoga. They're all implied in Bhakti Yoga. What that means is when we practice Bhakti Yoga, we practice some of Karma Yoga, some of Dhyan Yoga, some portion of Jnana Yoga anyways. तो हम वो सब चीजें भी implement करते हैं, लेकिन Bhakti Yoga is the sum and substance of all the spiritual practices. This is the conclusion of all the advanced spiritualists and transcendentalists. जितने भी बड़े-बड़े sages हुए हैं, saints हुए हैं, whether it's Shukdev Goswami या Sud Goswami या Narad Muni या Ved Vyas, they have all concluded. Arjun himself says in Bhagavad Gita that all these big sages, they have concluded that you are to be known by all the Vedas, that your bhakti is the supreme, right? He says in 10th chapter, these verses. And this, so what we are doing here is we are trying to invoke that love of Godhead within us, practicing Bhakti Yoga and understanding some portion of Jnana Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, Karma Yoga as well as we go. So we are following in the tradition of Lord Hanuman, or in the tradition of Shabri, or in the tradition of Mother Draupadi, in the tradition of Queen Kunti. That is the line we are following. So we have very big shoes to fill. They are the example of topmost devotees of the Lord, right? Yudhishthir Maharaj, Arjun, Gopis of Vrindavan, and Sakhas of Vrindavan, and Mother Yashoda, and we are following in that line. So we're not understanding this Bhagavad Gita in a dry philosophical way. Throughout, those that have been attending these sessions hopefully understand that I've been trying to just in the same mood as Prabhupada, in the same mood as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all our line of acharyas, disciplic succession, trying to give the import of bhakti in each and every verse. Not just understanding things by dry logic and philosophy and all these speculative things. That is not the mood of Prabhupada. Prabhupada's mood is to invoke the love of Godhead within us. So with that mood, let's start reading. So this middle 6 chapters are also, if somebody wants to read Bhagavad Gita, middle 6 chapters, Krishna has bared open his heart to Arjun. Chapter 9 and chapter 10 especially, he has revealed his heart to Arjun. He talks about so many things that will take us back to Godhead. It reads like a love letter. Chapter 9 especially reads like a love letter. Every single purport he keeps saying, come back to me. Every single verse he keeps saying, come back to me, and how you can come back to me. And none of them deal with anything related to moksha or ज्ञान and all these things. ऐसा नहीं बोलते कि जंगल में चले जाओ and कुशा ग्रास पे बैठ के समाधि ले लो. Nothing about that. Krishna talks about, main thing that you have to invoke the love for Vasudev inside you. So with that mood, in that same mood, we'll also try to understand this chapter 18, although it talks about tyag and renunciation. But like I said, everything is part of Bhakti Yoga only. We practice tyag and renunciation also in Bhakti Yoga, and we'll understand how. So let's start. Start from text 1. I'm just going to say some prayer, one prayer before we start reading Bhagavad Gita. Om Shri Paramatmane Nama. At Srimad Bhagavad Gita. At Ashtadash Adhyaya. Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. So, chapter 18, verse 1. Will lead and follow. Please follow behind me. Arjuna Vacha.
अर्जुनोवाच
Sannyasya Mahabaho.
सन्न्यास्य महाबाहो
Tattvam veditum.
तत्त्वं गच्छामि वेदितुम्
Tyagasya cha rishikesha.
त्यागस्य
यस्य च ऋषिकेशः
ऋषिकेश
Prithakkeshi nishudana.
पृथक्केशिदुसूदनः
So this verse, let's see that Arjun is asking a question. I just want you to realize this. And then please somebody read the translation. Anita Mataji, would you like to read?
Sure, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Arjun said, O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation and of the renounced order of life, which is sannyas. O killer of Kesi demon, master of the senses. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, so just give a back story. Krishna spoke it to Arjuna on the battlefield of Mahabharata when Arjun was in confusion and bewilderment because he did not want to fight with his relatives, with Bhishma Dev, who's his grandfather, and so many other relatives, teachers were there that he did not want to engage in fight with and kill them. Right? He was more than capable of fighting with them, but he did not want to kill so many people just for the kingdom. So he was confused about his duties, and he surrendered to Krishna in chapter 2 and asked Krishna to make him his disciple, accept him as his disciple, be his spiritual master, and give him all the knowledge. So Krishna, being the supreme knower, being the absolute truth, he is the knower of everything. He's the one from whom all the knowledge comes. He gave all this knowledge to Bhagavad Gita to Arjun in a very concise fashion. In just 700 verses, he gave this knowledge. And in between, you will see, very important to see that Arjun keeps asking questions. Arjun asks some doubts that he has, conceptual doubts, and then Krishna clarifies those. And Krishna encourages these doubts. He very patiently answers these questions that Arjun has. And this is the mood we see in all our scriptures, whether it's Srimad Bhagavatam, whether it's Chaitanya Charitamrita. You see this mood of one person asking the question and other person answering them and clarifying their doubts. So that is very important for us to understand. We should also always be asking questions and clarifying our doubts, especially those that are related to our sadhana, our devotional practices on a daily basis. Because if you have any doubts about your practices, about this path, then it is very hard to perform those practices, right? कि मैं क्यों इतने बजे उठ के ही करूं, क्यों नहीं मैं शाम को chanting कर लूं? Why do I have to chant only in the Brahma Muhurat? Why should can I read एक बार Anita Mataji's Mataji, I'll come back to you, had asked me this question, can we read Bhagavad Gita any time of the day? Yes, you can read Bhagavad Gita any time of the day. Now let's say she did not ask and she's thinking I can only read Bhagavad Gita in the morning, कभी और नहीं पढ़ सकते. So you would not, let's say you are busy, your duties are such, you have to wake up for other things in the morning. You'll never get time to read in the morning, so you never read Bhagavad Gita. No, right? So if you don't clarify doubts about various practices that we are performing, this line that we are following, then we will always be in confusion, will not develop firm faith and conviction. So everything will be very loosey-goosey, kabhi kuch kiya, kabhi kuch nahi kiya. या किया भी तो पूरे मन से नहीं किया. So if you want to have full faith, full conviction and go on the path in a very solid manner, then you need to clarify your doubts and ask questions like Arjuna is doing. Yes, Mataji. Anita Mataji, please share.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna. I was just sharing that कि कैसे अर्जुन को कृष्ण जब लड़ाई के बीच में ही जो लड़ाई चल रही होती है उसी बीच में उनको इनलाइटन करते हैं. सो सिमिलरली लाइक मुझे ऐसा फील होता है कि हम सब अभी रियल लड़ाई में तो अभी हैं। जैसे कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि बुढ़ापे में जाएंगे तो फिर भक्ति करेंगे, फिर ये लाइक क्यों इसको पार्क करना है, अभी चाहिए। वो जो गाइडेंस है, जो स्टेप्स है, जो मैनुअल है राइट नाउ, जब बच्चे बड़े हो रहे हैं, बहुत सारा जॉब्स में आप लाइक यू नीड दैट काम एंड कूलनेस विद इन योर सेल्फ, लाइक अपने आप को वो टूल देना है, टूल चाहिए, अभी चाहिए। तो फिर बाद में का कोई जरूरत ही नहीं है। तो आई थिंक द सबसे बड़ा चीज ये सिमिलैरिटी है कि अर्जुन जिस तरह से बीच में थे लड़ाई के, वैसे ही हम सब हैं। आई थिंक यहाँ पे काफी सारे यंगस्टर्स हैं, कुछ बच्चे भी हैं। तो हम सब एक लड़ाई लड़ रहे हैं और इसीलिए अभी चाहिए हमको वो सपोर्ट और गाइडेंस और मैनुअल जो है जो। और आपने बताया कि कभी भी पढ़ने वाला टाइम, यस दैट वाज द बिगेस्ट क्लैरिफिकेशन यू डिड टू मी। उसके बाद क्या हुआ कि कभी भी जैसे ऑफिस में होता था कि कुछ लोग अपना ऐसे ही गॉसिप कर रहे हैं, चाय पी रहे हैं, बातें कर रहे हैं, आई यूज टू लाइक यूटिलाइज दैट टाइम कि जब मुझे मन नहीं कर रहा है कुछ और काम करने का, आई जस्ट ओपन वेदाबेस एंड जस्ट रीड गीता. So I continued doing that, and with that approach, I was able to finish it, at least reading like one time very soon. Like क्योंकि मैं बाकी टाइमों को यूज कर करके पढ़ ले रही थी. So yeah, I mean that's one thing that I can relate whenever you say कि अर्जुन उस टाइम बहुत सारे सवाल कर रहे थे, लड़ाई में थे बीच में। तो हम लोग भी वैसे ही हैं एक्चुअली, अभी भी, अभी rather मे बी कि बुढ़ापे में आई डोंट नो क्या होने वाला है। वी हैव टू जस्ट डोंट थिंक अबाउट इट सो मच।
Yes,
हरे
ma'am.
कृष्णा।
Very nice point. So yeah, we should get this knowledge at a young age. Prahlad Maharaj also says, right? Kwamaram acharet pragyo dharman bhagvataniha. You see the verse? Durlabham manusham janma tadapi adhruvam arthadam. So this is what Anita Mataji quoted, that we should start it at a young age, because when the fights are to come in life, जब पूरी life जी ली, fights हो गई सारी, फिर क्या फायदा? फाइट के बाद थोड़ी ना कृष्णा ने भगवद गीता सुनाई थी, फाइट से पहले सुनाई थी। तो जब लाइफ की फाइट अभी शुरू होने वाली है, internal and external fights, a lot of fights are internal actually these days. So those fights you will be well equipped to fight with. You'll have all the armamentum to fight with. So in this verse, Arjun is asking that Krishna, he uses three names for Krishna if you see. He calls him Mahabaho, mighty armed one. He calls him Keshi Nishudana. Keshi Nishudana also means Keshav, मतलब कि जिसने केशी demon का वध किया है, who is a killer of Keshi demon, right? So killer of Keshi demon. And then he also calls him Rishikesha. Rishikesha मतलब master of the senses. So very important name of Krishna that we have learned before also. So we should learn all these names of Krishna, because remember that Krishna is non-different from his names. It's not like our names कि किसी का नाम अमर है लेकिन वो तो मर जाएगा, तो अमर का कोई खास फायदा नहीं है. But when Krishna's names, they have a meaning, and they, when we say Krishna's name, we are invoking the presence of Krishna. So his names, his pastimes, his qualities, his form, they're non-different from him. He's absolute. He's transcendental. That's why he's not material. So these three names, Arjun is used in one particular verse. And the import of this names is that he's saying, you are the master or controller of the senses. So just like you can control, you can control my senses and mind and clarify these doubts for me so that my mind will be stable to fight. So please clarify these doubts for me and kill the demon, kill that asura of doubts within me, the demon of doubts within me, just like you killed the Keshi demon. So जैसे आपने केशी का संहार किया था, वैसे you kill the doubts within me. So what is his doubt? He wants to understand what is renunciation, या त्याग. So there are two words, त्याग, and the other word is sannyas. संन्यास में और त्याग में क्या difference है? What is the difference, or what is the purpose of renunciation, meaning त्याग, and the renounced order of life or sannyas? ठीक है? So everybody clear on the question? If we are clear on the question only, then we can understand Krishna's answers, right? कि त्याग में संन्यास और संन्यास order of life में क्या difference है? So with that question, if you understand, let's move on. Let's read three verses together, and we'll understand Krishna's answer to this question. In Bhagavad Gita 18.2, Krishna says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam
Kamyanam
Nam karma
karmanam
nam
nyasam.
nyasam.
Sannyasam kavayo vidhu.
Sannyasam
Sannyasam
kavayo
kavyo
vidu.
viduhu.
Sarva karma fal tyagam. Sarva
Sarva
karma
Sarva
Karma
karma
phala
phala
tyagam.
tyagam.
prahustyagam vichakshana. Prahustyagam
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 vichakshana.
vichakshana.
Let's recite 3 verses and then somebody can read. 18.3. Tyajam doshavad iti eke. Tyajam
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 doshavat
doshavati
eke.
eke.
karma prahurmanishina. Karma
Karma
prahurmanishina.
Ahu
Manishina.
manishinaha.
Yagyadana tapa karma.
Yajna
Yagyadana
dana
tapa
tapa
karma.
krama.
Na tyajyam iti chapare. Na
Na
tyajyam
Tyajam
iti
iti
chapare.
chapare.
One more. Nischayam shrinu me tatra.
Nischayam
Nischayam
shrinu
shrinu
me
me
tatra.
tatra.
Tyage bharata sattama. Tyage
Yage
bharata
bharata
sattama.
sama.
Tyago hi purusha vyagra.
Tyago hi
Aho hi
purusha
purusha
vyagra.
vyagra.
Trividha samprakirtita. Trividha
Trividha
Tridha
samprakirtita.
samprakirtitaha.
Okay. So can 3 people take turns to read one each, and remember Arjuna's question, and let's try to understand Krishna's answer to this. Yes, Agni Vedi, you want to read one each?
Hare Krishna. Text 2. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyas. And giving up the results of all activities is what the wise call renunciation, tyag. Text 3. Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activity should be given up as faulty, yet other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. O best of the Bharatas, now that my judgment about renunciation,
Now hear my
oh,
judgment.
sorry. O best of the my O best of the Bharatas, now hear my judgment about renunciation. O tiger among men, renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of 3 kinds.
Rebol. Thank you for reading, everyone. So let's take this verse. What is Krishna saying here? Shri Bhagavan Vacha. So what is Bhagavan saying? He's saying, so Arjuna asked, what is Tyag and what is Sannyas, order of life? So pehle to let's understand what is Sannyas, order of life. So those of you who've been attending from before, you know that in Vedas, the Varnashram system is given. Varnashram consists of, and this Varnashram system was actually created by Lord. It is not based on anybody's birth. It is based on their qualifications. Okay, very important. So some people call it caste system, but it is not caste system. It is based on their qualifications, their tendencies, their nature, their abilities. Okay. So Varna are 4 and Ashram are 4. Okay. This verse is not talking about the caste or the Varna. Okay. Caste or Varna is basically Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, right? So the 4 types of division of labor in the human society, and each of these people are qualified to do different types of work according to their ability, according to their God-given ability, their potencies, their talents, their abilities, their training, things like that. It's not based on birth, right? So Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So nobody is a Brahman by birth. Nobody can say, I was born in a Brahman family and that's why I'm Brahman. No, it doesn't work like that. You are Brahman if you have Brahmanical qualities. And nobody can say, I'm Shudra if you have Brahmanical qualities. If you're a Vaishnav, even though you may be born in a Shudra family, then you are a Brahman. So Krishna made that very, very clear in chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, right? So that part we understand, but we're not talking about the caste or the Varnas. Out of Varnashram system, we're talking about ashram here. Arjun's question is about ashram. So there are 4 ashrams: Brahmacharya, right? That is the first ashram. Grasta, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. These are the 4 ashrams. 4 ashrams is not a division of labor. 4 ashram is a division of a particular person's life. So in the first several years of our life, when we are studying, when we are, under the control of our teacher and parents and learning from them, learning various skills and arts and talents and things, that ashram is called Brahmacharya ashram. Okay. Brahmacharya also means complete celibacy, meaning no type of sensual or gratification or sex gratification, right? So Brahmacharya. Okay. That is Brahmacharya ashram. Then when a person completes their Brahmacharya ashram, they go into the Grahastha ashram. Grahastha ashram is when they take charge of procreation. So they have offspring, they have a child, बच्चा होगा, काम करेंगे, they are contributing to the society, they are contributing to the community, they are contributing to the economic development of the country in some way, using their skills, using their work. They are performing some kind of services, they are making money, and some of that money they will use in the service of Lord, and some of the money they may be spending on the maintenance of their family, and some money they may be spending on sense gratification. Like that is a Grahastha ashram. Okay, so Grahastha ashram is the most actually considered, that is the only ashram that we see these days. Most people are in this ashram. But Grahastha ashram in its best stage is where we are keeping Krishna in the center of our household and serving Krishna. So whatever job we are doing, whatever kids we are raising, whatever house we are maintaining, whatever properties we are maintaining, everything we consider it as property of Krishna, and we are just taking responsibility for those things for the time being, right? तो हम घर को ऐसे नहीं चलाते कि हम घर के मालिक हैं, हम घर को ऐसे चलाते हैं कि कृष्णा घर के मालिक हैं और हम उनके बिहाफ पे घर को मेंटेन करते हैं. बच्चे कृष्णा ने हमको दिए हैं to take care of. So we take care of kids on his behalf. These are the souls given to us by Krishna to take care of. So we have to bring them up in such a way that they can go back to Godhead. We have to deliver them. Similarly, our job also we do in such a way that we are not breaking any injunctions of scriptures and simultaneously serving the Lord and the community and uplifting the society and the community with us, right? And contributing to economic development. Like that, we perform our job. So Grasta is a very ashram of great responsibility, right? Then comes Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha is when you cut back on a lot of these responsibilities of children, of maintaining the household, of working. So many of these responsibilities you cut back on and you are going towards retirement. So you are very much retired and you are cultivating more and more spiritual knowledge. In Grahastha ashram also, in Brahmacharya and Grahastha also, you were cultivating spiritual knowledge. But in Vanprasth, now maximum 70% of your activities are in spiritual practices. So you're teaching spiritual knowledge, you're preaching, you're serving the Lord more and more, and your material activities, your sense gratificatory activities have gone down a lot. So आपका भोग बहुत कम हो गया है और योग बहुत बढ़ गया है. That is Vanprasth. Then sannyas, which Arjun is asking about, sannyas ashram or sannyas order of life is the one in which you are performing all spiritual activities. There are no material activities. You are completely immersed in the service of Lord. So completely yoga, no bhoga. And you are either performing spiritual practices, teaching spiritual practices, contributing to spiritual practices somehow, somehow serving the Lord in such a manner that you and your dependents and other people are all going towards Godhead. So you have given up any social obligations. You are not part of any particular society. You're not making any money anymore. You belong to the world because you are now a spiritual practitioner completely. So आपकी ऐसा नहीं है कि मेरी ये family. Sannyas ashram is a very advanced order which is actually not really followed these days properly, and only in proper traditions the sannyas order is given. जैसे कि हमारे जो ब्रह्मा मध्व गौड़ी संप्रदाय है उसमें sannyas tradition is being followed, but the the practitioner has to be very qualified, very advanced before they take their sannyas vows. So sannyas vows are very, very hard to keep because you're giving up your family, you're giving up any society, any community. You don't belong to any community, country, society. You don't make any money. You're just completely dependent on Krishna. You have given up everything. You have renounced everything. So this is the renounced order of life or sannyas that Arjun is asking about. So he's asking, what is the difference between that and tyag? Tyag is just renunciation, right? So now let's see what Krishna says. He says that when you give up the activities based on material desires is called the sannyas order of life or sannyas ashram. कि जब आपने सारी material activities छोड़ दी हैं, right? That is, I think, very clear. We know many sannyasis in our tradition, so we understand. Look at Prabhupada, right? Giving up all the family, giving up the country, giving up any particular business or money-making activities. You've given up all that, and there are no material desires. You're just working for Krishna. That is called sannyas ashram. And then Krishna says, giving up the results of activities is called tyag or renunciation. Now, this is something we are all supposed to practice. तो हम लोग संन्यास order में नहीं हैं, right? We are not practicing sannyas order of life. All our activities are not completely spiritual, but we are supposed to give up the results of all activities. That is called tyag or renunciation. Is that word clear? त्याग meaning renunciation. जैसे आप कोई भी activity करते हो, जैसे कि बच्चे हैं, वो exam के लिए prepare करते हैं, right? So you say, I'm going to do my best because Krishna expects nothing but the best for me. So I'm going to study my best. I'm going to not waste any time. I'm going to associate with other kids that are studying, devise new ways, innovate some ways to study better, and I'm going to do my best in this exam. Now, despite that, if you fail or if you pass, you will not be very attached to the results of that activity because, hey, I did my best. I pleased Krishna by just doing my, giving my 100%, right? So that result of activities should be given to only one person. Who is that one person? Should you enjoy the result of activities that you're doing, or should you give it to somebody? Who should we give it to? Can somebody unmute and answer?
Krishna.
Krishna. Because why? Why should we give it to Krishna? You did all the work. Why should we give the results to Krishna? He didn't do anything, did he?
He is our Supreme Personality of Godhead.
We are his servants, right? He's the supreme enjoyer. He said in chapter 5, right? I'm the enjoyer of everything. Everything that you're doing it for my enjoyment. So whatever you do, you're not doing it for your own enjoyment. So if we have, attachment to the results, that's where the anxieties come. That's where the frustrations come. That's where the expectations come. Fears come. Ki kya hoga? Oh, ye kya, ab kya hoga? Tab kya hoga? But if we just do our best, if we just give our best to the activity, but are not attached to the results of that activity, then it is called tyag. So that is called tyag. So tyag is a spirit of renunciation. Tyag is an internal thing. It is not an external thing. Externally, you are still doing an activity, but internally you are detached with that activity. कि क्या होगा? कोई बात नहीं, मैं अपना भगवान देख लेंगे उसको, right? So spirit of renunciation is what matters, not giving up the activity itself. So renunciation of activity is not needed. Renunciation of work is not needed. Renunciation in work is needed. Is that word clear? Renunciation of work होना चाहिए या renunciation in work होना चाहिए? Which one do you think? Should we renounce work or should we be renounced in work?
Renounced in work.
Renounced in work, right? So we should not renounce the activity itself. We should be renounced in that activity, right? So जैसे कि Arjun is also fighting. That is the whole Bhagavad Gita. Arjun is also fighting. He's doing the action that has been given to him by Krishna. Krishna Pradat Seva hai. Guru Pradat Seva. Krishna Pradat Seva should always be carried out, that activity. But he is now not attached to the fact कि क्या होगा ultimately, मैं जीतूंगा या दूसरी side जीतेगी, कौन मर जाएगा, कौन नहीं मरेगा, because this activity is my prescribed duty and it is stamped by Krishna that I should do this. So I'm going to renounce, I'm going to detach from the results of that activity, the fruits of that activity, and just do the activity with a detached mood. So that is a true detachment. Detachment is not giving up your family and going to jungle. Detachment is staying in the house, serving the family with no expectations and no, fears and anxieties, just understanding that they are parts and parcels of Krishna and I'm just serving them on behalf of Krishna. That is a true detachment. So इसी तरीके से काम पे जाते हैं लोग, जॉब पे. So the detachment is not leaving the job, क्योंकि मेरी जॉब है, जैसे कि मैं physician हूँ तो मेरी जॉब में बहुत ज्यादा स्ट्रेस है या बहुत ज्यादा responsibilities हैं या कोई lawsuits हो जाते हैं, so that's why I should give up the job. No, that is not the detachment, to give up the job because there are all these fears and anxieties entailed with the job. No, do the job, but do it in such a way that you are detached from those things that happen around it. So whatever things, because things will happen, this is material world, things will happen, but to stay detached from those things, from those expectations कि मुझे मैंने इतना अच्छा किया, so somebody will give me honor and appreciation and encouragement. No, people don't care. Or somebody will, somebody did not pay me, they were supposed to pay me $20 but they only paid me $18. It's okay, I did a great job. So in this way, not be very fearful of your situation, not be very anxious, not be very entangled in that work, in that service, in that situation, but to do it with detachment, doing it in such a way that Krishna is pleased with the way you are conducting that job. You're conducting your household, you're conducting your whatever services is your prescribed duty. Different people have different prescribed duties, right? So that is called tyag. So that is the true tyag. So tyag differs from sannyas order in a way that sannyasi is completely, उन्होंने तो त्याग किया ही है, right? But they have also not given up all the activities. They are engaging in spiritual activities. On the other hand, a grahastha, for example, could be engaging in material activities, but making them spiritual by giving the results to Krishna. So हम material activities को spiritual बनाते हैं by giving, we spiritualize, we Krishnaize an activity. Your job, your mundane job, कोई shop में shopkeeper है, he can make that job Krishna conscious, he can make that job spiritual just by working in that job with a detached way, in a detached fashion, right? A student can become detached, a lawyer, a doctor, an astronaut, everybody can become detached by understanding that I'm not the doer, I'm not the enjoyer of the results. Whatever name, fame happens, I give it to Krishna. Whatever problem also comes, I just depend on Krishna for his mercy and for his protection and maintenance. So if you do it with that kind of detachment, then even your grahastha ashram is that of renunciation. और जो सन्यासी है उन्होंने तो सारी मटेरियल एक्टिविटीज छोड़ ही दी हैं, they are completely engaged in spiritual activities, their life is of complete tyag or renunciation, because they are not indulging in anything for sense gratification. They don't enjoy their own senses, they just give pleasure to the senses of Krishna, right? Krishna is Rishikesh, master of senses, so his senses should be pleased, not our senses. एक बहुत ही सुंदर वर्स आती है शास्त्रास में, and it's also quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It goes like this: Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktiruchyate. That means Sarvopadi vinirmuktam. Give up all your designations. Don't get entangled in too much designations, identifications कि मैं teacher हूँ, mother हूँ, lawyer हूँ, doctor हूँ. ये सब designations जो है सर्वोपाधि विनिर्मुक्तम, इनको छोड़ दो. Understand that I'm just the servant of Krishna. So all these things that you're doing, just do them as a servant of Krishna. Don't become too attached to this position of being this or that, because those positions कि मैं female हूँ, मैं Indian हूँ, मैं brown skin हूँ, मैं रिपब्लिकन हूँ या डेमोक्रेट हूँ, जितना हम इन डेजिग्नेशंस में फंसे रहते हैं उतना हमें एंटेंगलमेंट रहती है, उतनी ज्यादा हमको एंजाइटीज रहती हैं, प्रॉब्लम्स रहती हैं, राइट? सो सर्वोपाधि, सारी उपाधियां विनिर्मुक्तम, उनको छोड़ दो. Only one upadhi you remember, to be the servant of Krishna. Just remember that upadhi. Give up all other upadhi. Tat paratvena nirmalam. In this way, gradually purify yourself. Rishikena rishikesha. Rishikena rishikesha matlab, Rishikesh is the Krishna, master of senses. Unki senses ke liye kaam karo. Work for the senses of Krishna. Rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktiruchyate. उन लोगों की सेवा को भक्ति बोलते हैं, ऐसी सेवा को भक्ति बोलते हैं. So even Arjun fighting, it looks like a very violent thing to do, but even that is an act of devotional service. Even that is an act of bhakti yoga, क्योंकि he is doing it for pleasing Krishna. So in this is the difference between tyag and sannyas ashram. Yes, Mataji, Namiti.
Mataji, can you share this verse on on the chat, please?
Yes, Mataji, I can pull it up on the screen also. So it's a very, very famous verse, actually very widely quoted by Prabhupada and by his disciples. But I'll pull it up. And it's quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatmena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktiruchyate. Bhakti or devotional service means engaging all our senses in the service of Lord, who's the master of all senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from all material designations. तो सारी उपाधियां खत्म हो जाती हैं, material designations, and one's senses are purified by being employed in the service of the Lord. तो जब हम अपनी सेवा करते हैं, जब हम अपनी सेंसेस की सेवा करते हैं, उसको भोग बोलते हैं, और जब हम भगवान की सेंसेस की सेवा करते हैं, उसको योग बोलते हैं. तो हमको भोग नहीं करना है, हमको योग करना है. तो लोग जो भी चीजें करते हैं, बच्चों की ब्रिंगिंग अप करना, सब चीजें भोग की तरह से करते हैं कि ये बड़ा होगा तो ये कुछ बनेगा तो हमारा नाम होगा, अपने लिए ही पड़ी है. यू नो लाइक कि देखो मेरी परवरिश कितनी अच्छी थी, देखो मैंने क्या सिखाया है बच्चों को. So it's very, very much since like just for sense gratification still. Indirectly still getting name, fame, and applauds and appreciation through your kids. So it's like an indirect, sense gratification only. But you just think this is my responsibility to bring the kids in a proper way, because these souls are given to me by Krishna to take care of. So these souls, I have to make them servant of Krishna as well, and be a servant of Krishna myself as well. So not to just to lord it over people, ki comparison karna, देखो मेरा बच्चा तुम्हारे बच्चे से कैसा है, देखो ये वो. That is all just very, very mundane, materialistic behavior. So I'm just saying, because a lot of us are parents here, so that example fits everybody. So I'm not giving it. There are so many material designations we are entangled in, whether it's job related, yeah. But this designation, I think most of you relate with, because we are all parents. So सर्व उपाधि विनिर्मुक्तम. So इस तरह की उपाधियां छोड़ दो, एक ही उपाधि याद रखो कि we have to please the senses of Krishna, being his servant. It's like कि आप किसी के servant हो. मान लो आपके घर में कोई नौकर है, उसको वो कार, उसके घर में कार है उनके घर में, ठीक है, जिस मालिक के घर वो काम करता है, वो कार अगर वो नौकर ये समझ के चलाता है कि ये मेरी कार है और मैं इसको सड़क पे लेके जाऊंगा और वाहवाही लूटूंगा कि ये मेरी कार है, मेरे को सब देखेंगे, देखो कितनी बड़ी कार है इनकी, देखो लैम्बोर्गिनी है इनके पास, तो राइट, तो मेरे को बड़ी वाहवाही मिलेगी. अगर वो इस भाव से जाता है तो वो क्या कर रहा है, वो अपने मालिक की कार का भोग कर रहा है. राइट, ही इज एंजॉयिंग द कार फॉर हिज पर्सनल पर्पस. वो उसमें अपनी गर्लफ्रेंड को घुमा रहा है या कुछ कर रहा है. राइट, वो क्या कर रहा है, उस कार का भोग कर रहा है. लेकिन अगर वो कार इसलिए लेके जाता है कि मुझे इसमें भगवान का काम करना है, कि जैसे उनके लिए ग्रोसरी लानी है या उनका कुछ सामान देना है, जो भी, वो अपने मालिक के लिए उस कार को यूज कर रहा है, तो वो उसी कार को मालिक की सेवा में यूज कर रहा है. ही इज सिटिंग इन दैट कार एज अ सर्वेंट. ही डज नॉट, अगर कोई उसको कुछ बोलता भी है कि तुमने बड़ी अच्छी कार है तुम्हारी, तो वो क्लैरिफाई करेगा, नहीं मेरी कार नहीं, ये तो भगवान की कार है, भगवान मेरे मालिक की कार है. इसी तरीके से जब कोई आपको कुछ बोलता है, अरे आपने तो बड़ा अच्छा मुझे ठीक कर दिया, जैसे मुझे कोई बोलता है कि ओ डॉक्टर तुमने ठीक कर दिया, तो नहीं, ये तो कृष्णा की मर्जी है, दिस इज नॉट, आई हैव नो पावर टू डू एनीथिंग. लेकिन अगर मैं उसको अपने लिए ले लेती हूँ, हाँ मेरी एबिलिटी से, मेरे टैलेंट से तुम ठीक हो गए, मेरी इंटेलिजेंस से तुम ठीक हो गए, तो फिर मैं उसका भोग कर रही हूँ. So this is the difference between bhoga and yoga. And when we do yoga, when we please senses of Krishna, when we give all credits to Krishna and not take any for ourselves, when we use everything in service of Krishna, understanding that everything is just lent to us by him for the time being, for this life, then it is called tyag. And when we make that our on a, अभी तो हम कुछ चीजें अपने लिए भी करते हैं, कुछ फल अपने लिए भी रखते हैं, कुछ फल भगवान को देते हैं, तो इसीलिए हम पूरी तरीके से रिनाउंस नहीं है. लेकिन सन्यास ऑर्डर में जो सन्यासी होते हैं, दे गिव अप ऑल देयर फ्रूट्स टू द for the satisfaction of Krishna. They don't keep anything for themselves. They're only engaging in spiritual activities. But sannyas order is very, very hard to follow in this Kali Yuga. So even as a grahast, we have been instructed by our acharyas and gurus that if you live life of a grahast, दूसरा वर्ड होता है ग्रह मेधी. ग्रह मेधी होते हैं वो लोग जो कृष्णा को सेंटर में बिल्कुल नहीं रखते, जो जिनके हिसाब से हाउस होल्डर का मतलब है खाओ पियो ऐश करो, कि बहुत सारी सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन, जितना भी पैसा कमाया वो पैसा सिर्फ अपनी फैमिली पे और अपने बच्चों पे और सिर्फ मौज मस्ती में ही जो गुजारते हैं. दे लुक एट हाउस होल्ड लाइफ एज लाइक सेक्स लाइफ के लिए या सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन के लिए या इंजॉयमेंट के लिए ही यूज करते हैं, जो उसको उनको बोलते हैं गृहमेधी. लेकिन आवर स्क्रिप्चर्स टेल अस दैट इज नॉट द पर्पस ऑफ अ हाउस होल्डर लाइफ. वी शुड लिव हाउस होल्डर लाइफ एज अ गृहस्थ, नॉट अ गृहमेधी. गृहस्थ इज अ आश्रम. आश्रम का मतलब है जिसमें भगवान का हमने आश्रय लिया है. तो गृहस्थ आश्रम में भी भगवान का आश्रय लेना है. कीपिंग कृष्णा इन सेंटर. So many devotees, we go to their house and they don't even, they keep Krishna's temple in the center. जब आप जाते हो, everything is aimed towards the temple. तो आप जाते हो तो आप वहीं बैठते हो, आप वहीं, सब कुछ टेम्पल सेंटर में होता है घर के. तो उन्होंने घर को ऐसे बनाया है कि हमें हम हर जगह से कृष्णा दिखाई दे, हर जगह से भगवान दिखाई दे. उनके लिए ही खाना बनता है, इसीलिए हम खाना सिर्फ भोग लगा के खाते हैं कि खाना हम अपने लिए नहीं बना रहे, हम भोग लगा के खाते हैं. जो उनको प्लीज करता है वो बना के देन वी ईट इट, राइट. So a mundane khana, something as mundane as just eating that we eat 3 times a day, becomes prasad just by offering it to Krishna. So if we offer everything to Krishna, it becomes yog, it becomes tyag, it becomes grihastha ashram, and not a grihamedi, not a mundane householder life. So I'll just stop here because this is a lot to unpack. This question is very hard to understand between त्याग and renunciation. ऐसे लगता है कि एक ही चीज है, which is it is एक ही चीज, लेकिन त्याग हम डेली बेसिस पे करते हैं. लेकिन संन्यास एक ऐसी चीज है जो एक ऑर्डर ऑफ लाइफ है, एक आश्रम है जो लोग फॉलो करते हैं, जिसमें सिर्फ त्याग ही त्याग होता है. हमारी लाइफ में कुछ त्याग है, कुछ वो है, लेकिन हमें त्याग को ज्यादा से ज्यादा बढ़ाना है, सैक्रिफाइस को, सेल्फलेस सर्विस को ज्यादा से ज्यादा बढ़ाना है, और सेल्फिशनेस को, सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन को धीरे धीरे कम करना है. तत्परत्वेन निर्मलम, धीरे धीरे निर्मल होना है, डिकैमिनेट करना है, प्योरीफाई होना है. That's where I'll stop. I think we did 3 or 4 verses. We can take them again next time because this concept is hard to understand. So we'll probably take the verse from 2 to 4 again next time. Anybody wants to share anything? Prabhupada also used to call it युक्त वैराग्य. युक्त वैराग्य का मतलब होता है कि जिसमें हर चीज, जिसमें सिर्फ वैरागी नहीं बन जाते, हम चीजों को छोड़ नहीं देते फ्रस्ट्रेट होके. कई लोग फ्रस्ट्रेट होके छोड़ देते हैं चीजों को कि मेरी वाइफ बहुत तंग करती है, मेरा हस्बैंड बहुत तंग करता है, तो मैं फुल टाइम टेम्पल ज्वाइन कर लूंगा, सन्यासी बन जाऊंगा. ऐसे नहीं होता. अगर आप दुनिया से फ्रस्ट्रेट होके भगवान के पास जाते हो तो दैट विल नॉट लास्ट फॉर वेरी लॉन्ग. यू हैव टू हैव अटैचमेंट टू कृष्णा, एंड वी हैव टू स्लोली डेवलप दैट अटैचमेंट टू कृष्णा इन गृहस्थ आश्रम. That is not a qualification to become a sannyasi, that I'm just frustrated from life. ऐसे नहीं होता. So युक्त वैराग्य एक टर्म यूज करते थे प्रभुपाद. It's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita many times कि आप वैरागी तो हो, आपने त्याग तो किया है चीजों का, लेकिन आप वो जो चीजें आपको मिली हैं, आप उनको भगवान की सर्विस में यूज करते हो. कि जिसका जो टैलेंट है, जिसके जो रिसोर्सेज हैं, उसको भगवान की सेवा में युक्त करके वैरागी हो. तो ऐसा नहीं कि कोई बोले कि मुझे बहुत अच्छा गाना आता है, मैं बहुत मेरी आवाज बहुत सुंदर है, लेकिन मैं गाऊंगा नहीं क्योंकि मैंने मौन व्रत लिया है, क्योंकि मैं चुप रहूंगा, मैं उसको यूज नहीं करूंगा, क्योंकि उसको यूज करना इज लाइक सेंसेस को यूज करने के जैसे है, राइट. नो, उसका प्रॉपर यूज ये होगा कि आप उसको भगवान के कीर्तन में लगाओ. आप उस वॉइस से, आप अच्छा गाते हो तो आप भगवान के कीर्तन में गाओ, राइट. आप उससे लोगों को इन्फ्लुएंस कर सकते हो, भगवान की तरफ अटैच कर सकते हो बाय सिंगिंग ब्यूटीफुल कीर्तन. सो यू डोंट जस्ट गिव अप things, you use things that are given to you by Krishna in service of Krishna. So whatever abilities, talents, resources, money, profession, kids, house, whatever has been given, you use those, you don't give up those things, you use those things in service of Krishna. This is also a type of tyag, and it is also called युक्त वैराग्य, जिसमें हम चीजों को युक्त करते हैं, connect करते हैं with Krishna and use in his service, not our service. So this is also, so there are some terms to understand. We'll discuss them more next time. But if you feel inspired, please read the purports, please read the previous chapters also. उसमें ये सब चीजें प्रभुपाद ने already clear की हैं, all these terms. Anybody wants to share anything? Shall we finish for today then? Okay, let's we'll chant. But before that, Grantraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
all glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
All glories, all glories, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः एव च
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो
नमः गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालय
कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय
कृष्णभक्ताय नमो नमः